Okay, guys, I lied before. This is the most interesting panel of the day. Sorry, Panis. Okay, Nek, Irini, Elena, Tony, please on stage. Applause, please. Come on, show some love. Okay. You're intimidating me, Tony. Go exactly, shift like this. So I'll take exactly. Great, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about something that is a rather unconventional topic. And I will start by giving, let's inverse the trend, right? So let's talk less and on more questions, okay? So, you know, it's not this, no, don't worry. Don't try to follow my thinking. So let's give you a minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll talk more about, we'll introduce the first topic, okay? Nek, you start.
Hello. Only one person in the world calls me Nek. My name is Nektarios. Just ignore him. My name is Nektarios. Greek name, Greek face, British accent with a bit of German. Alla milao και ελληνικά. It's not just Effie who can do the trick. My life has got three parts. One part, very corporate financial services. One part, corporate innovation and startup engagements. We built the first startup competition on fintech with Matteo. Ran the largest startup fintech accelerator called Startup Bootcamp. I'm right now a fintech founder myself. At the tender age of 55, I started a new business. But I'm here with a different hat because 3 years ago, I started something called the Future Farm, which is a platform that advocates for better mental health for entrepreneurs in particular. Now, maybe just a quick temperature check in the room. Who in the room, raise of hands, identifies as an entrepreneur? That's quite a few of you. That's good. So we've got something to talk about. Thank you.
Tony.
Hello, everybody. This is Tony here. I'm the CEO and founder of Oyster HR. It is a global employment platform. We help you, companies, entrepreneurs, to hire anyone, anywhere on the globe. Oyster is a mission-driven company, first and foremost. We are here to make the world more free and equal, especially the world of work. And before Oyster, I started another technology company in the API technology space that went public on the NASDAQ and got sold a few years ago. And when I left this company, I wanted to work again, but then I wanted to work on my own terms. I wanted to be free of location. I wanted to live not in cities anymore. That's why I picked Cyprus as my home base. And I wanted to have flexibility in my life, and I wanted to reduce the amount of mental health pressure from work on myself. And I realized actually I'm not the only one who wanted this. Everybody wants this. So we created Oyster as a company that is focused on building a culture where we minimize the impact of work on our mental health. And I'm eager to talk to you about it today.
Thank you. Elena.
Hello, my name is Elena, and I'm a workaholic. I always wanted to do that, really. That's why the topic of well-being is very interesting for me, personally and professionally. I'm in the HR field for almost 17 years. I'm here in Cyprus for 5.5 years in Exness. Right now, I'm Chief Administration Officer, covering HR, legal, compliance, finance, and working with people from early ages, like from the university. So I think I have a say in that field.
Thank you. Irini.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. So I've had a long experience in the corporate space, like all of you, working for different industries. I went through Swift at some point, like some others here, through MasterCard and consulting. And a few years ago, I had a life-changing experience, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, that actually made me decide to completely change my mindset and my priorities. And I shifted towards mental health and how I can help corporations take care of their people, who are their most valuable asset, as we also talked about before. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's dive into the first question. So I would like each one of you to address why this topic matters, okay? In the sense that in most conferences, the best ones, okay, there is usually a panel on, you know, well-being, the mental health,
Diversity also.
Sorry?
Diversity.
Absolutely, diversity. And all these topics, or the percent of these topics talked about in conferences skyrocketed after COVID. You know, during a little bit, but after, you know, for sure. So why, one, and second, why does it matter to you? I mean, Tony, you mentioned a little bit, okay? Maybe you can expand, and let's do one round like this. Next, start again, please.
Shall I start?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because I deliberately say I don't care about these guys.
Thanks.
And the reason I'm saying this is there's not a lot of research, like scientific research, around the specific challenges of entrepreneurs compared to the general population. There's only 2 studies, and one of them is about 10 years old, that shows that entrepreneurs have a higher prevalence of mental health challenges and a higher predisposition of the corporate or the general population. That's why I'm going, there's a bit of a difference. But I'll start with my numbers then. So, as an entrepreneur, you're twice more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety. You're twice more likely to experience suicidal ideation. You're 3 times more likely to engage in substance abuse. And just to be clear, substance abuse means drugs, okay? So how I got into this was when we ran the first accelerator program in London in 2014, I observed first-time founders, young people attracted by the shiny lights of Silicon Valley to start a startup because it was cool, to not be prepared to the challenges that come with building a business. And these people would kind of disappear in the toilets to take whatever to get through the day, and at the end of the day, they would take something else to come down again. And this was just one facet. Like knowing people who worked like comfortably 16 hours a day, 6 weeks in a row, and at some point crashing and burning. When we started the Future Farm, we run a podcast where we invite founders to tell us their life story so people can learn what it actually means when we talk about mental health and mental health manifestations. And the stories we've heard over now nearly 70 episodes are heartbreaking. So for me, the reason I'm doing this and the reason it matters is because as a business builder who's on a mission, and as a business builder whose identity is very, very much intertwined with the business, the challenges are exponential compared to what you go through even in your normal day-to-day life in a corporate environment, for instance. That's why it matters to me. And I can give you examples, by the way, and it's...
Thank you. Tony.
Well, it matters because it's better for business. If you have a founder, leader, CEO that is burned out, that is reactive in meetings, that is blaming the world for all the issues that's happening for the business because he or she is reactive, and then the business will suffer, right? I mean, the culture will suffer. You're gonna start having toxic cultures, and so first it matters because it's better for business if you have leaders are in more balanced mental health, and it matters because for business because today you have a massive amount of disengagement at work, right? It's like over 70% of employees around the world in knowledge work are disengaged from their work, and one of the reasons why is because work has become a tax on our mental health. You know, Matteo mentioned the pandemic. You know, when the pandemic has made people realize that there is more to work than to commute to an office and stay in a cubicle for 80% of our waking time in a day. They realize that they need a purpose from their work. They need fulfillment. They need to be within a healthy culture. And when the leader of an organization is more balanced and more healthy mentally, then you create an environment where there's higher level of psychological safety if you're less reactive. You create an environment where there's a high degree of trust within the organization. So all of this matter in terms of the performance of the business. So that's one of the reasons why many organizations are putting corporate wellness as an important program, because actually it is better for profit.
Thank you, Elena. Now, after you have done your AA coming out, you know, I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
Why
I can
does it
explain
matter?
from a personal perspective, really, because we are not getting younger, right? And being more and more mature, we're all trying to find the sense of meaning in our lives. And when you spend so much time at work, you have to have some answer. And the surprise came with COVID when we, like in the business world, we believe that as soon as people will stop suffering from the commute to work, from different obligations, and they will have more time to work, they will become happier. And what happened? Nobody became happier, because people realize that work is not everything. There are other things that you have to take care of. And if you spend so much time at work, probably this is a good attempt to connect these other things with work itself. And I started to research what science tells us about that, and really it's almost 10 years. Scientists, they trying to find an answer how to connect work with the bigger purposes. And the well-being and the mental health is one of the dimensions where we can have connections. And also we can use ourselves as an instrument. If we are suffering and if we don't feel happy at work from time to time, we can imagine how our employees feel. So probably our empathy here will help us to find the solution.
Thank you. Irini.
Okay, so a small story from me, okay? So as I said before, I've been working in this space for many years, like most of you. And a few years ago, when I was 29, I was stressing myself quite a lot. So I was crossing my limits, trying to reach my KPIs, you know, pursuing the next promotion. And then I had a wake-up call. I got cancer. And I'm not gonna lie, it was like a lightning on a clear day. It was very difficult, but I didn't give up. So what I did is that I really tried to go deep into what mental health can actually do to us or for us. And I'm not coming to you from an emotional standpoint here. It was more about collecting, understanding what had happened to be able to help myself first and then be able to help others. Because you cannot help others if you first don't help yourself. And as you very correctly said, corporations have a lot to gain when their people feel good. I mean, look at resignations, look at absenteeism, look how the morale goes down when people get sick, and let's face it, people are not just numbers anymore. So it's really important to help them not experience burnout, not experience autoimmune diseases which are related to stress which comes from work. So it's important to help our people build resilience, build adaptability and plasticity, nurture a growth mindset, help them how to learn to reframe failure and learn how to stress better and more effectively. Because actually stress is a good thing if you know how to use it. And look at the uncertainty out there. You know that better than me. We talked about AI, Christian mentioned it, you guys mentioned it in the previous section. Look at geopolitics, look at the climate change, look at regulatory demands and requirements for reporting, the ESG agenda. Look at the numbers from last year's report from Deloitte saying that more than 50% of the people suffer from work-related stress. That also affects their quality of sleep. And you don't need me to tell you how important rest and recovery is for our health. I mean, look at the World Health Organization. They defined burnout officially after 2022, and a new ISO standard came out, which actually talks about psychosocial safety and risks, and how we need to clarify what the roles are of the people working in our company, and make sure that we don't overload them, right? So we need to help our people, encourage them to get satisfaction from work, have willingness to take the extra mile, be there at work, not just for the paycheck, or because of ego-related reasons, but to really be engaged and take the extra mile from the heart. This is why it's important to me.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing the story, Irini. So, you can. So, Christian, you know, you and I were still working together at Swift when the big decision for the company to make employees feel better was to make offices like the Google ones, you know? Take out the walls, put a nice multicolored cubes, you know, a nice cafeteria, whatever, with some sweets. That was great. It was, you know, marginally improving our well-being between the walls of the company, right? And that's how it started a little bit, right? But my question now is, what are we actually talking about? And I would like each one of you to respond, to answer with either what are you planning to do as a company, Tony? You have a company now in, you know, with working in 180 countries, by definition remotely. Same thing for you, Elena, maybe. Nektarios sharing some of the stories that you hear from the show, and Irene, you as a consultant, helping corporations. So let's bring this to, okay, I want to have a mental health as a corporate. I want to have a mental health agenda for my, what do I do, okay? Otherwise, let's, you know, coming down from theory here, okay? You wanna start? You can.
Maybe it's worth establishing one thing here. Ultimately, what we're talking here about is leadership, right? So we can reframe the whole thing about mental health and leadership. Because we've all been in the corporate world, or most of us, we know that people often are being made managers because they did a thing well, rather than them having great leadership skills. It's not too dissimilar with entrepreneurs who suddenly became founders because they had a great idea, but they don't necessarily know how to lead a company. And that's, for me, it's part of the root of the problem. Now, leadership is multifaceted, and there's a lot of leadership training that focuses on certain parts of leading, but not on the others. I think, ultimately, this, for me, is the substance of some of this. I get super frustrated because Matteo and I, we have a joint journey in corporate innovation. So part of the corporate innovation journey was the colorful bean bags and Post-its and blah, which is all, let's face it, BS. Ticks a box, we move on. And there's a real risk that this conversation for some people is in the same category. We need to have it, we take it, but nobody will actually do anything about it. It requires difficult decision and radical change. Now, when we deal with the entrepreneurs, with the founders of the businesses, they are more engaged in trying to find a solution because it's their business, it's their life, it's one thing. And a lot of them increasingly realize what you said, which is the way I create culture from the beginning will reflect on the success of the business, and hopefully in 2023, it will allow for all the other things. But I've also dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs who come into this very differently. And very much to your story, Rini, sitting in a room with a woman who tells you that at 31 she suffered premature menopause because of the stress of the business is something you need to sit down for a moment and digest, because it's not the stuff you think about. These are not, I'm stressed, I might need 3 months off and then I'll be back on the horse. It's life-changing events. Having a woman, a mother, founder of 6 kids going, I went to bed thinking if I don't wake up tomorrow morning, my kids will get life insurance. I mean, this is how extreme these stress situations get. And stress is a silent killer. It's as simple as that. It's a physiological exercise. When you can be a physiological experience, you can be super stressed and at the same time high performing. It's a paradox. And entrepreneurs in particular are very good at something called self-exploitation, where you operate on both levels. You know you're running very, very low. You know you're burning the candle at both ends, but at the same time, you're still performing, and it feeds back because you're performing, your investors like you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, the key thing to do, and this is something we try to leave everybody behind, is it has to start with introspection. If you don't know what's going on inside you, you will never be able to do something about it. And it's on an individual level as a leader. If you know something's off, you know it. So sorry, I'm ranting a bit, but excuse me. When we talk to founders who are happy to share their stories, the main question we ask is, what are the signals that you ignored before you hit rock bottom? Because we all see the signals. We just choose to ignore them because we keep going. But once you hit rock bottom, then you have the chance to do something new. So for me, at organizational level, but also at an individual level, is first do a scan, do an analysis, do an inventory. Something's off. If something's off, let's start talking about it. I'll hand over because otherwise I'll monopolize.
We don't need to follow a course. Whomever feels compelled to talk can talk.
So probably I will give real examples of what we are doing, because real examples are always good, and then I will try to explain even to myself why we were doing this. So in Exness, we had a well-being priority for the whole 2022, and we divided our actions in 4 main sections, and we started from the most obvious and simple one, financial well-being, because for many people, they suffer from financial uncertainties, and they suffer from this choice, will they have money till the end of the month or not? And we launched a couple of financial programs, including the program when almost every employee can take up to 6 salaries in advance if they wanted to buy something, if they needed to pay for some health services or whatever. And we found that this is one guarantee that the company can give to the employees, because it costs nothing. This is an advance payment for 6 months, but if you need money now, you don't need to take care like where to get that money. And also additionally, we did some education about personal finances, about different investment strategies, so many kind of stuff like that. The second one, we started to think about physical well-being, because actually stress is a physical thing, and we can teach our employees how to regulate their body, how to allocate enough time for sports, how to do proper meditation and breathing techniques. And we have corporate gym, not one, 2 of them, and one of the subscription to the gyms. We started to promote contests among the employees. Again, this costs nothing. It costs only the energy of people who started to promote these contests and these ideas. The third one was about psychological well-being. This is more complicated because our psychological well-being is inside us. So what we could do, and this is the minimum that every company can do, we provided the psychological services where employees can request a counselor online through online services, and there are a number of online services where for 50 euros or 100 euros you can have a session with a psychologist. And this service also got some popularity among the employees. And the last one is about social well-being, the fourth element, because we work with relocated people who are here without their big families, without proper support, and the company can do something with that to help the spouses of the employees to feel a bit better, to help children to adopt in the new environment. Just imagine you have a teenager of 15 years old who doesn't speak fluent English. How this person will feel in the new environment, and how the parent of this person will feel knowing that the child is not happy. So we launched a number of social clubs for wives. We launched a number of courses for children. We also started to do different family activities, competitions, family events, many things. Again, they are not about the cost. They are more about the effort that the company can do in order to support their people. And so the main question, why we're doing that? Because, of course, somebody can say that you have enough money or this is great PR or whatever, but actually you just need a couple of people who really care. And with these people, they will be your ambassadors, and they promote different activities like that, because you don't need much money. You just need someone who will go through the corporate bureaucracy, through all the processes that are established in the organizations, and will do something for people. And then you have more and more. And in my community, we had wives of our employees who were actually working for free. They were organizing others. They were doing some master classes. They were trying to entertain one another. And when the company was small, it was easier. Right now, like with this headcount, it's a bit more complicated, but still. And for me, it's a good example that every company can do so with minimum cost, but just with the care that other people can do to each other. And for me, this is actual well-being, the care that we can provide to other people around.
Very nice. I want to say what I think well-being is when it comes to corporations or, entrepreneurs, for everyone. So for starters, somebody needs to take a systemic lens, a dynamic approach, a holistic approach. Why? Because well-being is not at the top of the agenda, right? You all have your strategic goals. So you need to look at it first from the me perspective. Me, personalize. Well-being is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Everybody needs different things. So a corporation needs to provide the right things so that people can find what really suits them. Second level, the we level, the team level. You talked about leadership. So do you guys have compassionate leaders in your teams? right? Do you have people who really care and manage the paradox of management? On the one hand side, stretch people to reach KPIs, but on the other hand, provide the psychological safety that's required for people to speak up, talk about what's stressing them, talk about what they're suffering with, and what kind of help they need. And also, do your leaders walk the talk? Do they actually role model well-being initiatives? What does that mean? It means if a company says that it's supporting rest and recovery during weekends, and the manager says to the team members on Friday afternoon, hey, I need this by Monday morning, it's really important. Well, you're not walking the talk, are you? So third level is the us level, the organizational level. Does actually your well-being initiative and program is actually aligned with your corporate culture? Is it aligned with the purpose of your organization? Do your daily practices when it comes to the vision and the mission of the company or your entrepreneurial activities, is it aligned? Second thing, is it a long-term investment plan? Because well-being doesn't change overnight. Well-being ebbs and flows. So you need to look at it from a long-term perspective and give it time, give your people time to grow into all this. Third thing, perhaps the most important thing, if I had to pick one thing, is whatever it is that you're doing for well-being, are you actually measuring its effectiveness? Are you evaluating its effectiveness? Are you using tools, AI, or technology in general to really get to the numbers of this? So provide your people with surveys, with tools that will actually give them numbers in different, well-being initiatives to help them understand how am I really doing? Give them the benchmark against the industry average. So give them the personalized assessment. And then, if it's not working, adjust it. If the well-being initiatives are not working, you can adjust them. Then you need, of course, to have the right tools and the right mindset, which was also mentioned before. So take the little and often approach. Well-being is something that takes time, and we're all very busy people. So you need small interventions, nudges, to help people build literacy around well-being. I guess if I ask all of you here, I don't know how many we are, what well-being is to you, you're going to give me different answers. So how can you really create a strategy for something you cannot properly define? So first of all, create literacy. We all need to know what well-being is and how we can improve it, right? Then we need to activate it within the organization in the form of mini workshops and mini trainings about what a growth mindset is, how to nurture it, how to learn how to use stress. Use stress is a word introduced by Hans Selye. It comes from the Greek word F, which means good, which means how can you actually stress well? And actually it can be beneficial, I tell you. So other than that, one-to-one coaching, have regular check-ins with managers so that people can actually feel the safety to speak up, right? And also create peer network groups, because somebody might not want to talk to their manager, but they might want to talk to their peer for that, right? And also give people the right determination to continue caring for their well-being, because as the environment changes all the time, with all this volatility and evolution on everything, basically, how are they going to continue prioritizing their well-being? How are they going to protect themselves on the long term? Right? So it's really about what Martin Seligman says. He's the father of positive psychology. I mean, I'm very much into psychology this year. So what really he says is, if you treasure something, you need to measure it. And you measure it, and then you adjust it accordingly. That's it for me.
Thank you. Tony?
So like Irini said earlier, there's a connection between you as a leader taking care of yourself and how your organization is feeling. And for me, it is the same coin but different face. If you as a leader, you feel good, then the business would feel good, and vice versa. If you're surrounded with positive energy, then you also is gonna feel good. So you have to work on these both sides, right? You have to take care of yourself, and you have to create an environment where people can be healthy. So concretely, let me start with what we do in the organization. First, we start with the concept of we care about how people feel working with us. We start from that basic concept, and we structure a work environment that is less taxing on their well-being and their mental health. So for instance, we default to a synchronous way of communication and collaboration that reduces meeting times, that give people the opportunity to receive the information ahead of time, process their reactions, and when they are in a meeting, they are already present and don't need to react. We don't expect them to respond all the time, so when I send a message on Slack to somebody, I don't expect them to respond to me immediately unless it's urgent. So first we create a work environment that is much more positive to support people's mental health. But it's also about flexibility. If you give people flexibility of work, you reduce the tax of work on their life. Like for instance, if I want to go to play tennis at 10 a.m. in the morning, I can do that without feeling guilty. If I want to go work from a different country to be closer to my family, I can do that without feeling guilty. So you remove the feeling of guilt that people feel in the workplace because it doesn't matter. You know, I think what matters is that they get the job done and they are performing. We also have we have mental health program in the company. Every person they have a therapist access. We have a mental health channel. People can come and share their experiences. Everybody come and support them, anonymously or not. We also have channels where people can just vent things and share things without worrying about how they appear. Right? They can scream, they can shout, they can get stuff out of the way, so they doesn't necessarily be stuck in their system. And we do measure as well, as Irene said. We measure how people feel. Every day, everyone receives a Slack notification to rate how they're feeling. We aggregate that on the company level, and on a weekly basis, we see how the sentiment in the company is changing. So that's what we do. Some of the things we do from a corporate standpoint to care how people feel here, but also it's important to care for yourself because you need to model the way. You cannot, if you're burned out as a leader, then, well, some people in your company will burn out. So suddenly you have a responsibility to take care of yourself. So a bit of step back. So in my previous company, we were a fast-growing technology company. I was spending 50% of my time in each continent every month. I would be in a constant burnout mode. I would be in a constant jet lag mode, and I was going to see a therapist and for a number of years, and my therapist diagnosed me with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So what that means, it means that I have a heightened fear response. So what is the worst job for people with PTSD is to be an entrepreneur. So I was like in this brutal job that wasn't really fit for what I'm struggling with. And so when I took some time off, I took a year off between my two companies, and I was committed to solve this PTSD issue. And I went through therapy. I solved that PTSD issue. At least I had a path to how to solve it. And I was committed to taking care of myself as a human and as a leader. And I wanted to create a company around me that would support me in that. So on the personal level, obviously, always therapy. I also manage my energy level. So on Friday, I don't have internal meetings, so I focus on clearing up my whole day so I can go on the weekend and don't work. I work flexibly, where I can actually, in between calls, I do activities that release stress, whether it's playing music or walking my dog, going to the beach. And I live closer to nature, so I left London to live in Cyprus so that I can be more closer to nature and get that effect of healing that comes from the natural world. So you have to work on both equations. You have to work on yourself and you have to work on the environment, and they support each other, and they are the same coin, different face.
Thank you, Tony. So I have a question for you guys in the audience. So we have no time, so we will not answer any question from the audience. You can ask these guys at the cocktail. But if who would have a question to ask these guys if we had time? Could you just raise your hand? Okay, so this is an abnormal number of questions for a panel. Usually when you get, who has a question from the audience, you need to pray for one hand to raise, and then you throw the mic on the other side of the room to say, oh, thank you for asking. Here you have a dozen of people, or maybe because they didn't have to ask the question, so it's kind of easy. But let's hope they were sincere. But it gives a sense of how much this topic is sensitive. And thank you very much for bringing to this conference. Thank you very much.